Bluegrass Jam Along is proud to be sponsored by Collins Guitars and Mandolins, each and every one built from the sound up in Austin, Texas. Hi, this is Matt, and you're listening to Bluegrass Jam Along, the podcast for anyone and everyone who loves bluegrass. Hey everybody, welcome back to Bluegrass Jam Along. This is a really quick bite-sized episode put together just to commemorate what is a pretty cool date in the history of bluegrass, and that is December the 8th, which is today as this episode goes out. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And the next episode of the podcast will follow up on one of these, but the two key events on December the 8th. First one, December the 8th, 1945, was the first time Earl Scruggs appeared with Bill Monroe at the Opry. And for a lot of people, that is considered kind of the birth of bluegrass as we know it. Lester Flatt was in the band already. Earl joined. And if you were around when we celebrated Earl's birthday on the podcast, on Earl's 100th birthday, a couple of years ago, you'd have heard from a whole bunch of people about why that band was so important, why Earl was so integral to it, and like how bluegrass came together when Bill and Earl and Lester all got together. I talked to Joey Douglas about that. I talked to Jim Mills. I talked to a whole bunch of really cool people. I'll stick links in the show notes if you missed those. They're really interesting if you're an Earl Scruggs fan. But yeah, that moment where, like, all the work Bill had been doing with Charlie Monroe and then with his sort of string bands, and then that point where Earl joined the band, and that sound that we now know as bluegrass sort of came together. So December the 8th is a really kind of key date. And obviously this year, 2025 is the 80th anniversary of that day, and what a kind of extraordinary arc that music has been on since. So I just wanted to just put something quick out to celebrate that, because 80 years since the day many people consider the birth of bluegrass is an exciting thing to commemorate. But the second thing that happened on December the 8th, several years later, in 1962, again involving Earl Scruggs and Lester Flatt, they recorded their classic Live at Carnegie Hall album. And that album is fascinating in so many ways. It's a wonderful document of that band at that time. It's also an exciting time in New York because of what had kind of gone on with the folk revival and the opportunity that gave to bluegrass music and string band music and old-time music to kind of take the stage again. It was the first bluegrass gig at Carnegie Hall, and it was December the 8th, 1962. And, you know, Flatt and Scruggs had only been with Bill Monroe for a couple of years after that Opry date, and they went on to do their own thing, which, you know, had a long run and was hugely influential. But there's something lovely about that synchronicity. So first off, I wanted to do this and just put out a little episode to celebrate December the 8th as a really cool day in the history of bluegrass. I know a lot of people consider it the birthday of bluegrass, so happy 80th birthday to bluegrass, first off. And second, I'm going to celebrate it by celebrating that Flatt and Scruggs Carnegie Hall record, and that will come out on Wednesday this week and will be the 500th episode of Bluegrass Jam Along. Another reason to do something to celebrate. So what I've got coming for you on Wednesday is an interview with Trey Hensley about Flatt and Scruggs Live at Carnegie Hall, because not only is that one of his favourite records, it is also the first record he ever bought. Obviously Trey knew Earl, spent some time with him, talk to him about that record, which we'll hear about in the episode. But yeah, I just wanted to take a chance to celebrate because I love talking to Trey anyway. He's just a really cool conversation to get to have with him every time I speak to him. And he knows that music and he loves that music, and we had such a cool chat. I really enjoyed that. So that is coming out on Wednesday, and it is the 500th episode of Bluegrass Jam Along, which seems a little bit nuts. But I also wanted to take the opportunity to thank all of you who've listened, whether this is your first episode. If it is, I'm sorry, it's quite a strange one. Whether you've been listening for a little bit recently or since the beginning, or like most of you, probably sometime in between, thank you. I've enjoyed doing this immensely, and I'm really excited to put out the episode on Wednesday. That is it, short and sweet for this one. Just wanted to put something out to just celebrate, and for a chance to kind of me to celebrate the podcast a little bit and just look back at 500 episodes of celebrating bluegrass. That is it. Do check back on Wednesday while I will put out the interview with Trey Hensley about Flatt and Scruggs live at Carnegie Hall. Happy 80th birthday to bluegrass. I'll see you next time, and happy picking. Bluegrass Jam Along is proud to be sponsored by Collins Guitars and Mandolins, each and every one built from the sound up in Austin, Texas.